This is the way, the end of time. This is the way to the end of the rhyme. This is the way, the end of your game. Played the same. Expect me to perform like you want, like you need, like you seek, like you breathe. Nobody home went out that door. You're not gonna play with me. You're not gonna play with me. What you think I am? Never gonna be your dog, your plaything. And we move. And we move to the tune of our noise and mechanism. To hear something not of your own making. To hear something not of your own making. I am not of your own making. No, I will go to the next level.
Greetings in the name of the Most High. Hello. 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 Oh. Ah. 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 Oh. Oh.
Nice try.
Ooh, okay, I'm on live. And
Shut the door here, buddy.
okay, so
Good job, buddy.
I'm just trying to find out if I lost my file or not.
Oh, I hope not.
And
That's a great file.
because I just did a thing. But anyway, greetings in the name of the Most High. A little fun in the studio. I'm doing a very important work. A very important work that is dedicated to reality, which is the reality beyond the shore. Okay, so as I said, in the beginning, praise God, we're having another day to be alive. So as I said in the beginning, it was all about peace. And as you can see, though, we went through all the people warmongering, all the people talking about war, all the people, that's it, Doc, it's war, it's over. I kept bringing back this. I was the one voice that was just kept saying peace. And I know there were others out there that agreed with me that weren't podcasters, but I mean, it was, from that vision I had about the paint spilling over and, going over from US to Europe and over even to China and to the East and West, this paint spilling over the globe. And so it showed me that the main driver of Trump and the administration of this whole thing is peace, and hopefully a lasting peace. And that really is the driver. And that's also what's driving a lot of the trade is peace through fairness. If there's trade, if there's fair trade, then there's not resentment, then there's not a path to war, right? So trade is peace and peace is trade. And that's the way that it's working. My eyes have been screwed because I've been like with this, I have been suffering through an anemia and, really makes my eyes not be as bright as they once were just because, the lights, they're not always going to be on over here. And, at some point I have to die so that, people can then appreciate the work that I've done, after I'm gone or not. Oh, there's no guarantee of that. But anyway, so, so that's the driver. And then people are the way what's happening is that the media and the Trump haters, which I'm not a hater. I don't hate Trump. I don't hate, Gavin Newsom. I don't hate Democrats. I don't really hate Republicans. I hate what some people do, but I mean, I don't hate them personally, but this fight has gone into personal. And what's wrong with that level of hatred is that it first of all, it is terrible on the people who do it because it's not just making them have no discernment, but it's putting them in a great deal of pain. As mental illness is very painful, can be very painful, and it is a form of mental illness. And then now there's Putin derangement syndrome, and that the idea is, I don't care what kind of, I'm just going to channel here, I don't care what kind of, peace deal he does. We're not going to accept it. It's Putin and Trump and Zelensky is our guy. Zelensky is our guy. And, and Ukraine's getting screwed. And, we need to bomb them. And there are people with this ideology of nuclear war like it's survivable. It's not survivable, but that's not the track that we're on. The track that we're on is peace. And the media, none of the media can see anything. They're all just absolute low IQ morons, every one of them, unless they can see what we're seeing. see it evenly, see it the way it is. But they won't, accept it. They won't be happy with, all right, Ben, okay, he's here in the studio. He likes it here. They won't see it evenly. They won't see it fairly. They won't see what it really is. And the only reason I have any discernment on this, where a lot of others were calling for war and duck and it's the end of the world and all that, is because I try to rely on the Lord to give me just some context to I have visions and nightmares and dreams and all kinds of things about what's going on. And it kind of supersedes the news. Like the news articles are very misleading and usually they're fear-based and fear-run. So the news media, exists on fear, greed, and lies. And so how can anyone get the news? Oh, it looks like they're talking World War III. Oh, yeah. Well, no, peace is what I would tell you. And then now what happens with this piece, if they pull it off, everyone, the whole world was 100,000%. There will never be peace. And if there is, it's not real. It's like everything else. It's shit. It's fake. Orange Man and Putin, a thug. And, this is all just a big, manipulation of the New World Order. And, we're all screwed. And it's like, no, we're not all screwed. No, that is the wrong way to frame it. And, it's, there's a picture of Trump with Epstein where he's screwed. No, he's not screwed. I told you. I also said this in a podcast. I said, they're going to just eventually dump it on the net and, sort it out later. Oh, that wasn't the real files. Those are all fake. I don't believe a word of it. Well, then why even turn on the TV? Why not go live in a cave? That's it. You don't need media. You don't need people. You don't need anything. You just need isolation. Isolation is your friend. Anyway, so that's what you're going to have. My prediction is you're going to have a lot of people in complete disagreement if Trump pulls off the impossible, including the I can't believe I left that the tractors up like that. Including now let's just see if this is still the same thing as what I had before. No, I think it's back to normal. So yeah, so
Every place you go is a theme.
okay. I just have, that's why I'm not in here doing podcasts, because I'm kind of working on this thing. I don't know what it's going to be. It's just something that's for you, because I'm not a commercial artist. When I grow up one day, I will be. But for now, I've just decided to give them a break, give the world a break. And I just really share the music with podcasts and like I've got some, of my most inspired music, 2 years online with 43 views, and I don't seem to want to do anything about it. I don't seem to want any kind of, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just seem to have no ambition. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I want to get the music right, but I don't seem to have the proper motivation, if you know what I mean. So you're going to have to just, dig me out of the woodwork somewhere, in order to tune in. But anyway, so let's get back on the thread of, peace. So I told you peace was the driver. And I said I based it on the vision I had. And throughout all the fears of war, economic collapse, and everything that all the usual pundits that we all listen to, were screaming and yelling about. I kept with my inspiration on this word, and I'm kind of glad I did, because a lot of times if I receive something and I change midstream because the pressure from the media or just being influenced, I can then be wrong, and so you always have to guard against that. But if I stick to what it was so strong, it's kind of hard for me to deviate from it. And then the next thing is, they're not going to want to give it to Trump, no matter, like he said he could cure cancer and every disease on earth, and he would still be considered to be, people are still going to march around wishing he was aborted as a baby, and it's just, the hatred is blind. It's the same hatred and what I say to people is, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But what's happened to them is, the big story is how sick they've become. And no, the people with TDS and now PDS, I never thought it would actually get that far, but it's now PDS, Putin derangement syndrome. And I agree with people who are saying that, basically Russia won the war with Ukraine, and so it's over. NATO could be defeated by Russia within 30 seconds. And that'd be the end of NATO. And the United States can't beat Russia either. And everyone that's tried has failed. And when the French Revolution failed, what did they do? They sent Napoleon in. And where did he go? To Russia. Yes. He went to Russia. And, it's where he got his ass kicked. But they had to do something with all the starving people. I mean, they were promised with the revolution that they were going to have food to eat, and they were going to be able to be not just serfs and slaves in France. And yet their lot did not improve. They couldn't feed them in the 1790s. So by 1800, it's forced conscription into Napoleon's army. So we're not that stupid, We know that Russia has an arsenal that can basically end the world. We can also end the world. China can also do some, major damage. If everybody set off all their nukes, the world would be ended. That would be the end of it. End. And so that's the thing that's floating out there. And that's what would happen if the people that NATO, it's like guys like influencers like Sean Penn, who still influences people despite the low IQ. Despite the fact that, he's really, really stupid. It's unbelievable, going around promising that, Maduro is the president of Venezuela. Anyone who says anything against the president of Venezuela needs to be thrown in jail. And then he said, anyone that doesn't get the jab needs to be thrown in jail for putting the rest of us in danger. So he's not capable of critical thinking about vaccines and viruses. And besides that, there's no proof that what they said about COVID is a virus that was spreading where you need a vaccine to eradicate it. There's no proof of that at all. Now, as we look back, we see there's no proof. How it got going, what it is exactly, we're not quite sure, but we do know one thing: an mRNA gene therapy shot that's killed about, I think it's up to about 30 million people now. You can kill 30 million and get away with it. Fauci's still running around out there, even though he engineered the whole thing. These guys are way more hardcore than any Nazi you ever heard about. Way more hardcore than Hitler ever was. So, and that's the left. Or if you like the globalists, or if you like the administrative state. Is that better for you, calling it that? Or if you like the global dictatorship, the global fascism. And global fascists always call anyone that disagrees with them, what they call them? Nazis and fascists. That proves exactly what they are. They call you what they are. That's the way the dialectic works. That's the way, all they're really interested in is enslaving all souls to do their bidding, taking them away from God, scalping them all, and sending them all to hell, if you like. But, before that, using what they can of human and making it into their own, a cyber drone worshipers that worship Satan and worship Lucifer as, the Most High God, and to create a whole world where that's possible. And they call that the singularity, which used to be a term that meant when is the merging of machines and humans, basically. And what it really means ultimately is a world. What it really means ultimately is a world where God is no longer an issue. God is no longer in existence, or whatever. This is the war they have against God. And yes, people like Kurzweil, who coined the phrase singularity, all these kind of people went to war with God, but they call it something else. When machines merge with man and consciousness expands throughout the universe, and age, extension, life extension technologies get loose, and people are able to then be their free selves and travel to the planets beyond, or whatever it is. That's the singularity. Or the singularity is the ability to consciously move time and space because of the interconnectivity between quantum computing, let's say, and human. The singularity. This is coming up. The event horizon is coming up right away. The event horizon means the point of no return. It means that's the point where humanity's gone over the line, where humanity will never be humanity again. We'll never be acceptable to God again. The whole point of this entire thing is to make people not acceptable. Or if you like, go back to the Bible and see where it says that the people that take the mark will be out of the Lamb's Book of Life, meaning they're no longer, not God didn't do it. They became non-human. And non-human by their own free will is what took them out of the Book of Life, because the hatred of God is so strong. And now some of that hatred of God you're seeing on Trump and Putin, but every once in a while there's a scapegoat. I remember when I was on Tricky Dicky back then, on Dick Nixon, even though he didn't do anything half as bad as anybody today, But you don't see arrests and everything. For example, Gavin Newsom should be behind bars for basically the conspiracy of the water in California, and Karen Bass as well. And then what they're doing is they're playing up to BlackRock and others to burn down cities like Lahaina. He's working with Josh Green, the governor of the Hawaiian Islands, and working together to bring these 15-minute cities, and it's going to save the world and all that. So they have to break eggs to make omelets. And so that's exactly what they did in order to, burn Maui to the ground. The people there never did get their homes back. People in Maui, just so you know, cannot afford to eat in the restaurants that they serve the spoiled tourists in. And that's why I quit going to Maui a long time ago, because I didn't like the politics of it, and I certainly don't like the way that Josh Green and the Democratic Party has driven the people of Maui into abject poverty, so that they're just basically, they're the indigenous population, and they're treated like slaves. I mean, right? You don't need to look at old Indian lore to see that, or Navajo stories. You can go right to Maui right now and see it in real time. In real time. So one does wonder, about how you can, these wealthy people, the Bezoses and Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey and all these other celebrities, how they, exist just languishing on Maui, doing nothing about it. And I see Sammy Hagar out there with another one of his mansions, looking over the ocean, ordering stuff, buying Ferraris, and really just being completely unaware that the people around him are totally suffering, and doing, he could do a lot of good, but none of them do. It's like they're just waiting to get these people that were the original Hawaiians off the island, and they want to make Lahaina a beautiful, just like they want to make Pacific Palisades. Okay. They want to make Pacific Palisades another, center point of, globalist dominion in their service of Lucifer, their service of the other side. The other side, there is no such thing as the other side, by the way. There is no such thing as break on through to the other side, which is a stupid thing to tell kids what to do, because that's where, Jim Morrison's father is, Admiral Morrison. That's where the establishment is. That's where they're smoking their cigars and their three-piece suits, divvying up who's going to win in the next war. That's the other side. You want to break on through to that? I'm disgusted. If that's as far as your little noggin can take you, maybe, humanity was a mistake to begin with. If they're not smart enough to figure out where do you realize what this is we were dropped into? Do you have any idea where we are? Do you have any idea what this is all about, this globe, this world we live in? Do you understand the purpose of this life? Because if you did, you probably wouldn't be the way you are, would you? Now, I know, I understand. I've kicked the can down the road plenty myself. I've done all these errors of trying to avoid it, trying not to look at it, go, party down the beach with your good friends. Everybody's scoping, everyone else is looking to how they can sin, looking for sexual immorality, looking for, drugs, looking for all this stuff that they can get involved in, as if that group down there at the beach, those are your best friends. Those are your best friends. But the whole point they're doing down there is they're basically trying to resolve what the pecking order is. Every party that's thrown in the world is to resolve what the pecking order is, who the top dog is, what the deal is, who's a slave, who isn't, who's going to move up, who isn't, who's hot, who's not, blah, blah, blah. In other words, nothing of human concern concerns them because they're no longer human. We make fun of it. I don't want to get all off on this philosophical debate. There really is no debate here on Earth. Most of the people here are going with the basically the slavery and enslaving themselves and, then calling themselves free. Every time someone becomes a slave, they go, I'm free now. Yeah, because you got some extra dollars, you got some extra opportunities. You feel free, but you're not. Oh, you know what you are. You know what you become. You know how far down you've slipped. You know that sometimes the shame and the guilt over going along to get along becomes so great that good people kill themselves. I said good people kill themselves. And if you don't understand that, turn the podcast off right now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Goodbye. I don't care. Goodbye. No, I do care about humanity, the remnant, but I don't care about people that want to push this materialism as a means to getting rid of souls, and then having humanity saying, we need a solution. Gaia, Krishna, Johnny Depp, save us, please. And God bless the people that face it. God bless you all out there who live with that persecution, who've lived with that gang stalking, who've been singled out, who've been bullied, who've been made into laughing stocks. You people are the children of God. You will inherit not just the earth, but all things. And you already have. No, I don't, hate the elite. I don't hate anyone really. It's not the elite. It's a different species that's running the show. Off world, you don't see them, but they inhabit these people. So the people that once were human are, they look at themselves in the mirror and they're just, as long as they have a consciousness that's like getting them to the next thing, getting them to the next thing, getting them to the next thing, getting 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 to the next thing, performing, getting to the next thing. You think they like me? Getting to the next thing, getting to the next thing. And I'm really sorry that I wound up here too, because, you know, at times I just, well, this man from Mexico that works for me here, we've been friends for a long time. He does a lot of, you know, kind of a handyman, you know, and helps with the roof and the different things. And we were just talking, he has his son with him up from Mexico. And so we were just talking, and he said, you know, he goes, hypocrites. Because 90% of the world are hypocrites, he says. 90%. I said, geez, 90%. That's a big number. And, you know, because you can attach to that hypocrites in parentheses, materialists, anti-God, anti-spirit, you know, pro-flesh, you know, pro-Satan, whatever. You know, you could go on and on and on, you know, appearing like angels of light. I'm your politician. I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you, Mendam, he says in New York. I'm going to save you. It's finally going to be fair. Put your belief in me, and I'll save you. And no matter how many times we go through this lesson and people go into poverty and there's no food on the shelves and it breaks down into total crime, no matter how many times this happens, they go back and do the same thing again because they keep thinking it's about them. So back to the point, Putin derangement syndrome. I got to call the podcast that. That's what it is. It's Putin derangement syndrome. Seeing Putin as just some nasty thug and Trump as some kind of con man. And the two of them, if the news media is doing everything they can do to throw a monkey wrench in, and they want World War III, but NATO can't win World War III. But I don't care as long as that dies and Trump is unsuccessful. I don't care if you kill me too. Kill everybody. Just get rid of them. And there are people that think that way. And it's going to grow worse. It's grown worse over the last couple of years. It's going to grow worse and worse. So I'm watching this thing, and the people, they just come and say, you know, Trump is evil. How dare you say anything? And it's like, how dare I analyze accurately the situation? How dare I tell you the truth because it bothers you? Go fuck yourself and get out of here. You know, that's all I have to say to you. You know, if you want to debate me about something and stay on topic, which you can't seem to do, I'm here. Fine. Do it in email. I'll be glad to slice and dice you into ribbons. Anytime, sweetheart. You know, you tough people, worldly disappointments, you worldly failures. You know, write me. Tell me that, you know, Trump is great or Trump sucks or what is it again? He's bad. The Cheeto is bad. And that it's all going to fail and nothing has worked. Trade deals are bad. We're all being thrown into slavery now. And we're building concentration camps for all the people that disagree with the administration. Isn't that the new thing? Okay, let me address that. Please keep thinking that way. Let me pull this up a little bit. Keep thinking that way. Keep thinking that way. Because you're going to keep flipping that way, flipping. You're going to keep flipping around that way. No matter what happens, you're going to flip to the opposite thing. So what I have to say is, you know, keep thinking that way if that's what you have to do. And all I have to say about it is that it is what it is, you know, and people are what they are, and it's going to be what it's going to be. There's nothing I can do about it, and nothing I want to do about it. I mean, I'm not sorry that I came here, really, in a sense of it's been a waste of time. It's been a great learning experience. Walking around the earth and seeing the funny thing to me is how people think they're going to win the game. I said, well, you would win if you could figure out how to live forever, if you could figure out how not to die, you could win. And I suppose that would be the only way you could win. But if you could figure that out, a head transplant, I don't know, something, then you wouldn't share it with other people, would you? You'd want it to be just you in your club, your group, which then would defeat the whole point of being born in the first place, which would then defeat the whole point. Spiritually, you don't exist. You're just a cyborg at that point. So you have at it, keep on going, keep on going. Rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, But to me, no kings are holy. No high society is holy. Been there, done that. And the higher people go up the ladder, the more ugly they become because they lose sight of what it was like to be younger and struggling and trying to make ends meet and trying to figure out how to get through another day, another month, another week. And then to have these people laughing at you, and mocking the working people. Mocking people are just trying to figure it out, and they're just good people, and they're just putting food on the table for their kids and stuff, and they're being mocked for their earnestness. And I personally can't stand it. There's one reason I left Maui. Well, it's another reason I left LA. I couldn't stand it. I can't stand it now, and I probably will never be able to stand it myself. I just don't understand seeing the world as it is and saying, taking like the police approach and like Sting in his song, when the world is running down, you make the best of what's still around. Only an idiot would say something like that. A complete total moron, which he must be. He may be a genius at music, but in terms of human philosophy, when the world is running down, you do your best to be of service. That's what you do. That's the only compassionate human response that there is. Not you make the best of it. Have your own little fiefdom, your own little, have your gladiators and have them kill each other for your entertainment. And that's making the best of what's still around, huh, Sting? No, I don't think I would, last too long with, even in a polite conversation with, people that have a worldly philosophy that the world is God. The world is mana. The world is love. The world is the source. The sun is the source of my life. The ocean is my source. The yacht club is my source. The gin and tonic is my source. The watching sports with my friends, that's my source. That's my, and how many days of that do I get before I have to go? Facing death is not the answer. Feeling that I'm going to die is not the answer. Preparing for death is not the answer. The answer is live it up, make the best of what's still around. Make the best of your few years you've got left. Party hardy. But of course, I'm not opposed to being silly or partying or being completely crazy, meaning laughing in the face of death, laughing in the face of complete society collapse, laughing in the face of the whole thing going off the cliff, and simply being unaffected by it. Because the Lord says, when you're unaffected, let me share a word with you. And this goes back to the Sermon on the Mount of Jesus. When it no longer bothers you, you're ready to ascend. You're ready for the next level. And that goes with anything in life. But I mean, it really goes when you're dealing with, when you're dealing with the idea of life and death and what is there after this life. And it's when you don't worry about this life that you're good to go. And God will ascend you. God will move you. When you're worried about this life or this thing or that thing, and something you said, something you don't. I mean, I oftentimes reflect on things I've said here and I regret them, and I mix them up with words that are meant to be taken seriously and words that are just throwaways. And I jumble them together and ask you to figure it out. I'm Perhaps that's intellectual laziness on my part. I don't know. But I don't have time to worry about it. It's my flaw and my flesh. I'm sorry, but it's there. Just like other people may have a flaw and want to, I used to know when I was a kid, there were people that would collect their toys and keep them in the boxes they came in and then catalog them in their room, like year by year, it almost looking like a toy store. And I so envied that need to do that. And I couldn't bring myself to do anything like that. Things with me got scattered and chaotic and crazy, but I so admired that, and I was fascinated by it, absolutely fascinated. Anyway, let's move on. So after that, the Nobel Prize that everybody is kicking around, they're going to try to figure out a way not to give it to him or throw a wrench in it. And then Jerome Powell, as you know, is the head of the Federal Reserve, is trying to throw a wrench in the economy by keeping interest rates at a higher level. And I think there'll finally be some relief. What's happening with Europe is that they're keeping the euro artificially above the dollar and having the dollar come down against the euro, even though the better economy is in the United States. That has to be decoupled. I believe it is going to be decoupled, and that there will be a sense of parity eventually with the euro versus the dollar. Why is that a big deal? Because it's all based on unfairness. There shouldn't be a discrepancy where the euro is 10 or 20 or 30% higher in value than the dollar when the GDP does not justify that. It's very, very disconcerting that I think what Trump's strategy there is let them have the lower dollar as part of the signing of the peace deal, the tariff deal with the EU. Then let them compete naturally, and the dollar will come up to parity eventually. But for now, there'll be some pain. And it hurts people that do business overseas. You may not feel it when you're here, but at any rate, Trump will succeed to the extent that the Trump hatred continues and hatred toward MAGA continues. That will give us the amount of time and the amount of incidents that Trump will succeed. It's kind of hard for me to believe that people would run back to communism knowing the death toll and the poverty involved. It's hard to believe that people would actually do that to themselves based on Trump. But because the disease has gotten so severe, I mean, it's to the point where a lot of these people should either be under psychiatric care. Well, psychiatric care means nothing because they don't believe in God. So that's a waste of time. My daughter found that out the hard way. Yeah. So so how do we live, Z? Well, first of all, what I'm saying should bring joy in the time where everyone else is screaming war and pain and look out and duck. You ought to be dancing on the tables, dancing your way into eternity, serving others and the world and whatever God wants you to do with a joyful heart. That's the whole point. If you can have a joyful heart now, then you're good to go to the next level. It's that simple. And I've had to struggle with that. I've had to make peace with the past, with the horrible things that people do to each other, in order to try to move on. I couldn't have a joyful heart unless I had somehow forgiven and put into its, forgive the thing that happened as a systemic issue, not so much a personal one. These people occupied stations in life, and they have a high premium on enslavement. And if you're not willing to become their slave, then they are willing to target you for extinction. And, no matter what government you have, it's based on freedom, the United States. That's not the government that counts. The government that counts is what the people can do to you. mean, they can kill you tomorrow and there'll be no investigation. There'll be no one in jail. There'll be no consequences whatsoever, except through the Almighty God. And right now, this world is overdue for a big smackdown. Anyway, this informs my, the future screenplays I'm going to do. Is I'd like to see a guy in a movie be mistreated and harmed in the hospital, and then launch a war against it. Kind of like a vigilante thing, except I'm not sure how exactly I'd pull it off. We all go back to like the mental hospital genius movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? And then you saw what the Jack Nicholson character, what ends up happening to him is he gets lobotomized and in the end, and neutralized for bucking the system. The whole thing is an allegory about society. That's why it's so fucking damn good. Besides Milos Forman directing it, which was flawless. And the way he works with people that were first-time actors is quite amazing. So, I mean, I like the good stuff, I like the good thing. But I guess what I don't like is how through decadence, through wealth, through undeserved powers that people can get through doing certain kinds of rituals. And I'll just leave it there. We have a disparity of people here. The lowest are at the highest points, and the best people are at the lowest points. It's just incredible. It's why Jesus, I know now, I can see why Jesus said the meek will inherit the earth. Because once you've gone decadent, if you pursue money and power and fame then that's your God, then you will be hollow, shallow, and of basically a non-existing being. When I love hearing Roseanne Barr go off on people. Sometimes she goes, well, they're soulless. I've been through many mental hospitals, and I can tell you, I know soulless beings. And yeah, and these people at the top, they do these awful satanic rituals of drinking blood and all that other stuff. And she says, they'll try to lock me up for that. I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't need to go to the loony bin, which I'm also a veteran of. I guess with my experience, I was probably, they use that to try to pressure me to become one of them, to change to change and become like, a materialist, money pursuing, sex, money, power pursuing human like them. And that anything short of that, anything less than conforming to that way and to serving that community in the way they want to be served, which is usually through sexual decadence. And then, if you're in the mafia, it would be, killing people. But, if that's not your thing, good luck if you're from one of those families, because there's one thing you can do. Like Italian families can have their pure-hearted son go into, they can either drop out and become an artist and, lost in Soho somewhere, or they can become a priest, But see, the thing about the priesthood is it's the same system in the church. It's the same system in all churches. It's the same system in every organization. It's the same system in the Tulip Appreciation Society. It's the same system in the the ping pong aficionados club. It's the same system in the end chemtrails. The same system in the let's end gang stalking. In those systems, those groups that want to end gang stalking, there is gang stalking that runs it. Went through this with multiple personalities. It was like, okay, so in the same system where there are multiples, trying to get together to support each other, there are controllers and handlers and people that create multiples running it as the leaders, making sure that the people stay split. making sure they can still go DID when they need to. There was a movie I just saw, and I don't know the name of it, but it's Brill, fantastic movie. This woman should get the Academy Award. And if you just indulge me, I just have to look it up. I must share with you a couple of films. And I'll tell you in a sec. I had to type that in. It's called Night Always Comes. And it probably, you know, knowing this is America, it probably the actress name is Vanessa Kirby, and it's probably it's not in a horror genre. Basically, it's a movie about a woman's losing her house, and her mother, and their brother, who's a handicapped, not autistic, what we call retarded, but I don't like to use that word retarded, but compromised in that way, stunted growth, whatever. So it's them living in the house. They're going to be kicked out on like Monday. So she's got like this time limit, which is always good to have a time limit, to raise $25,000 or they get evicted. She's trying to make this deal with the bank. And so what is she willing to do to get that money? So you start finding out about her. She goes out with her contacts. She goes to a rich friend, then rips her off, then gets involved with sleeping with men for money, just anything she can do in that short period of time, including, getting her hands on some drugs, stealing some drugs, and then selling them. She finally, at the end of the day, she's all bloody. She's gone through a tremendous ordeal. She's Vanessa Kirby is an incredible actress. And the film was very compelling, just perfect in every way. And definitely worth an intense watch. Like when you really need something to blow your mind, this will do it. And so the irony is I don't want to be a spoiler, so I'm not going to spoil it. It's on, it's out there. I don't know what they say about it. The last movie I really loved was, it had like, seems that movies I like have really lousy ratings. And the movies I hate have higher ratings. And I don't like shallow, stupid movies. Like people keep reviewing Superman. It doesn't really appeal to me. But let people that like Superman have their day. I used to like the Superman comic. But Night Always Comes. It's on Netflix. Okay. And so she's on a dangerous path trying to get it all said and done. And I just thought, I have to revise what I said. I said, all the features coming out on Netflix have been lame. This one is not lame. So that I can recommend to you. And then Eddington, I have to say, that's out now in theaters, I think, and you can see it. Stars Joaquin Phoenix, and it takes place in New Mexico. And it is a very, very, very inventive, very layered movie about what happened in 2020 through the perspective of a small town in New Mexico. And, the riots and the rise of BLM and, white people hating themselves, and the whole thing that got started there with the death of George Floyd and all these other things that happened. And wearing masks versus not wearing masks, and people talking about Event 201 and then poo-pooing it like that's a conspiracy theory, a right-wing conspiracy theory, and they're still doing that. Like Trish said something like in our documentary, Trish said the word pandemic, and they all jumped on it, and they used that as a basis to just completely demean the film. They go, Jeff talks about his past with no proof. It's like, I don't care if you believe me or not. I don't give a shit what you believe about the only thing I was doing was telling people how I became a writer and what kind of, and processing trauma to write. That was the point, you dumb fuck. God, people are stupid. I got to put up with all this stupidity. Anyway, those two movies are very challenging and very. You may not like Eddington, but you know you got to. It's just really intense. You know, I don't know what kind of ratings it has, or and then Night Always Comes. And then I saw another film from years ago, from 2015, called Hope Lost. I believe it's Hope Lost, from a producer that we'd been working with at one time. We might work with them again. Um, it's an Italian film, and basically about sex trafficking, prostitution, leading into the Stuff film by way of an Italian, a story that takes place in Rome, and it stars. It's got like American actors Michael Madsen, and it's got Daniel Baldwin in it, of all people. And it's free because it's obviously old, but it was just really good about this woman that she was trying to break into the movies and thought she was being a producer and got trafficked. And it's just really that where it goes is so completely unusual, and it got completely slammed on like IMDb, just slammed everywhere. So my theory holds: the most brilliant, and it's brilliant, it is brilliant. So the most brilliant films get slammed and get like, they're lucky if they get to like 4 out of 10 on the IMDb, and yet they're light years ahead of all the other films, and in terms of artistry, in terms of cinema, in terms of filmmaking. And I've run into this problem. It's no longer that I don't have the critics are right and I'm wrong. It's more like I'm right and they're wrong because they're diseducated. Because they're fairly stupid. If they've dined on American culture for 20 or 30 years, they're pretty dumb by now, right? They haven't even cracked a book on world history or anything. I mean, anyway, it's about a woman that wants to make it in the movies, and she thinks she's meeting up with a big producer, and she gets sold into this prostitution. Danny Trejo's in it too. Now you have to watch it, right? It's like an Italian crew and production company and set up, taking place in Rome, and you have these American actors in it. And I can't believe you're gonna, when you see it, you're gonna get mad. You're gonna go, how can people have written this one off? The director, what's his name? Not David Petrucci, but Petrucci. He's a real artist, typical Italian, very, very Italian, very detail oriented, very operatic with his scenes and his sequences. And I just thought it was great. And between those two, or now I'm giving you 3 films that you can see pretty easily. But I don't think anyone would be sick of the really intense drama with the Night Always Comes. Yeah, I think Vanessa Kirby carries the role so well that you can't turn away from it. You get, and it's gross where it goes, and what it implies. But I'm so happy to see these kind of movies coming out about society and about the underbelly of the hypocrisy and the fact that our entire society is built on bullshit. And really, please, folks, please, let me get these glasses back on. I look terrible because, okay, here you go. Now, no hat, but yet hair. Yeah, no, I'm not well, and I covet your prayers on that. Well, I look better. I'm good at what I fight during the day is really intense. Like you know, sometimes I think I'm not going to make it through the day. But I just want you to know that I'm going to, go full out until that day where the Lord takes me happens. So it's to the best of my ability. But when the fatigue comes because of the failing systems I have, it's really, and the thing is, I've been facing death since 2023 over 2024, right there toward the middle of 2023 is when I got hit with massive MRSA infection and all these hospitalizations and lost the ability to walk. And I'm walking a little better now, but let's face it, even if I can end up walking fine, it's not going to change the situation much. That I've lived this. I also believe I'm totally blessed by living, 71 years and going into my 72nd year this next year. And, like I just don't think that most people would have gotten through what I went through. In fact, I wonder how I got through what I went through. And then, but I came out with, damage, and we've been working on it, trying to rehabilitate. And I keep doing things, signing up for stuff and throwing myself into the mix, doing more things now than I would have. But it's don't get me wrong, it's a struggle like anyone else has. When you get to be in 70 and above for a man, you're in your pretty much the twilight years. My dad died at 69. And my grandfather on my mother's side, I think it was 64. So in that sense, I'm doing better. But it's, and it's fine. Whatever the Lord has for me is fine. I've done everything I wanted to do. The main thing I wanted to do is I wanted to prove that my perception of the world was not worthy of going to a psychiatrist, that I was right and they were all lying. And I proved that. And I proved it again and again. I didn't care about proving it to the world. I proved to myself that I wasn't insane. And, I proved it was real. I proved that there's another world that is in charge of this one. And I proved it's every day and everyone knows it and everyone complies with it because they're going to get a little candy at the end of the week. Candy. But that's all you're going to get. Your candy. Now when I was dying in the hospital and I saw that twilight and they were telling Trish to get ready to, get my things in order, and she was getting that discussion. Okay. That's how close we were. So I've been, dealt with death, poisonings, incarcerations, all kinds of unfair things. And so when someone says, you're going to die a slow, horrible death, or you're going to die. And it's like, been there, done that, so, either come up with something scary or shut the fuck up. Because death is not scary to me. Death to me is like a rest. And the only thing I worry about is people I'm leaving behind, that they'll do okay. But other than that, life is pretty simple. When you see Trish up there, I worry about her. If I go, it looks like, I may go first. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it's something we have to think about. I could have a discussion right now with a 16-year-old and we get along just fine. I could have a discussion with a 25-year-old. We get along just fine. Or any age. I can be any age. I can be 20. But I'm in this body now. And when I leave this body, I'll still be the same person. That's my soul. That's the person you're encountering. And I happen to be a healer. And my method is secret. And it sometimes comes in dreams. It's weird. I don't even try to assess it. I don't take credit for anything. I'm here trying to do what the Father would have me do. And I'm trying not to be, I get depressed over, physical limitations like being too fatigued to stand up or, walk somewhere or do something. But other than that, it's fine. People understand, I mean, at least I'm not crazy at this point. I mean, if I start getting that way, I expect you to tell me that, hey, Z, you've gone crazy. The dementia, it's finally led to dementia or whatever, maybe it's time to get the hook, and all that's okay with me. It never was really about living with me. It was always about proving that I had the right to exist here, that I had the right to be, rather than this idea that I have no right to be here, or I have to ask other humans for the right to be here, or I've got to ask the club for the right to be here, or I got to ask my nation for the right to be here, or I got to ask the professor for the right to be here. No, I wanted to know if I had the right to be here. And it took me a long time to figure that out. A long time. They wanted it to be a long time. They wanted it to be never figure that out, never have peace, never be able to rest. Always, and it's like, I quit running from the devil, and I just turned around and looked him right in the eye and said, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. I am Christ. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Yeah, I had to have that because the humans didn't have my back. They're too busy stabbing each other in the back. And you know who they stab the most? People in their own club, people in their own families, people in their own societies, people that work on the same floor, people in their own companies, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And now we have Putin derangement syndrome. And that is the most delicious. Oh, thank you, Lord, for letting me live to see that. I never stop laughing at that one. Can you imagine? I think my hair look better if I get it going this way. And I had to kind of cut it around the side so I could thicken it up here, have the appearance of at least. Pretty soon we'll go with full mohawk, and it'll be fine. Maybe, when I die, I intend to be cremated and, and ashes, and then spread around my beloved New Mexico, where I live, where I'm happy. It's harsh land here. There's harsh seasons. There's harsh people. But it's just the way I like it. You know what I mean? It's just, in LA there were harsh people too. I didn't like it. I didn't like how the mocking that goes on. Finally, I started learning when they mock you, it means you need to mock them. Go back to Psalm 2. Now let's see, what does Psalm 2 say? What does Psalm 2 say? Psalm 2, and I'm having to. Okay, so why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a strange thing? Okay, you ready for this one? Let us break their bands asunder, cast away the cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then he shall speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. And basically, he says he will give the heathen over to the meek for an inheritance. That whatever they've gotten through lies, deceit, illicit wars, and cruelty will be ceded to the meek, who are seen as valid in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord is The Lord will mock them. He will hold them in derision. He will he will cast their cords, their eternal souls into oblivion, or give them over to the meek. And he does the same thing in the fall of Babylon. He does the same thing in the return of Christ. It's always going to be the same thing. The world will be subdued. I understand when we were kids, some of us would be, bullied, and some people would be, turned into bullies. And, and in a group, you like to get someone in the middle there and start laughing at them. And they would do all kinds of things. I mean, they would, how kids can be, and kids can be cruel, and they can, they used to pants people at school, run the pants up the flagpole, and try to otherwise embarrass people and laugh and point and all that stuff. And what you learn is, when it happens to you, you remember how that was, and you go, my God, what was I was doing that. I repent. I'm sorry. And you just tend to know what it's like to be bullied, to be laughed at, to be ridiculed, to be earnest, but be treated as if you're the problem, to be like you're the guilty one. And you remember that. And so you tend not to do that. Like that. I mean, when we were kids, people used to fat shame other kids, and they would definitely, especially girls, would be fat shamed. And I just, I'd been fat shamed myself. So I really understood how cruel and how awful that felt. So I just didn't do it, because I had been fat shamed. I had been ridiculed. I had been mocked, for my appearance. And so I learned, this is, if that's the side, and that's the side the jackals are on, that's the side of the world system. That's what you break on through to the other side. That is the other side. Mocking, laughing at the Lord, deriding the Lord's people, causing people pain and suffering, murder, lying, cannibalism. I mean, all of that's there, and institutionalized, ritual abuse, all that stuff is the occultic dark system. All the mystery schools have to do is let you know the end game. Even Freemasonry, the end game. And when you know the end game, then all the other stuff lines up. It's like, okay, you're totally evil. Yes, they're totally evil. That's right. That's right. But they'll never admit that. They'll never let you have that as a thought in your head. You're the one that's evil. You're the one that's giving us trouble. You're the one that's not going along to get along. You're the one that's rocking the boat. You're the one that's evil. We are good. We built the society. We love it. We love people. We're helping people. And you come along and start talking shit. And we're just not going to let you talk shit, okay? We're going to just get rid of you. If you're going to talk that shit, we're just going to get rid of you. And you say, I speak whatever the Lord would have me speak. I'm not a slave like you. So I will speak what I would have to speak, even if it's a lot of times sometimes I wish I didn't say that or this or that, or I know the wrath of some people are going to be on me. But, when you're dealing with life and death, you need to know the truth. You don't want to just keep kicking the can down the road and saying, oh, this society is great. This is fine. This world's great. What's wrong with me? I should be loving it. I'm so grateful. I've been so lucky here compared to other people. No, the other people should make it so that your life is ruined. My life is ruined because of poverty of other people. My life is ruined because the sick are mistreated. My life is ruined, and yet I still I have joy in the suffering. Jesus was a man of sorrow, but also a man of joy. It was about getting free of the bonds of the spiritual, political, global order, and being free of that, and being able to stand free of it and look at God and see God for who he really is. That's called worship, by the way. That's what they should be doing in churches. They do not. You can go to all the churches you want, but you know, the most closer you're going to get to worship is basically hymns and songs dedicated to God. And those are fine. I like those too. But it's not really, you know, if you base it on you know, for example, you confess your sins to one another. There are some people that are going to use that to blackmail you, and you know where they reside. If you're a pedophile, you'll probably be very attracted to churches because you're going to go to where there's a good congregation of children, right? That's going to be your thing. And so that now are they going to get rid of you? Not if you're a good contributing member of the church. They're going to cover for you. They might even join in. Oh, I'm sure eventually over generations they will. And there you have it. Does that mean the world should be blown up? Well, I've blathered on long enough. I'll see you next time. I'm sorry to go on so long. You know, some people know how to do this kind of stuff, and they can do in 30 seconds what takes me 2 hours.
machine.